So, slightly different video today. This is not a hoodie walk and talk, obviously. This is a Jawad after work, Savory Ape after work, waiting in the car to warm up, post-day kind of video. How about that? So, today we won't keep it too long. It won't be nothing crazy. Just wanted to talk about dumbbell bench press versus barbell bench press or any other variation. I've had some people ask me throughout the years what's better, why, etc. So we can briefly get into that. Now, before I sit here and say that one is better than the other, or maybe it might come off that way, this is just to clarify that this is not a one is better than the other kind of video, because I don't really think one is better than the other. The reason I say that is because when you're doing more barbell bench, you definitely have a lot more stability that you have to focus in on. But it's a compound movement. It's a power movement. It is a movement that teaches you how to develop a base. So I do think that, in this video, I'm going to talk about how I do think both are important. One plays off the other, but I'm basically here to just say that, one is not better than the other. It's just more so, it comes down to preference. It comes down to how you connect. But I do think both play a role along with each other. And here's what I mean by that. So with a barbell bench press, you have to be more stable. You're developing this foundation basically where you retract your scapula and you have a little bit of a gap between where your hips and your glutes are sitting on the bench. And your lats at some point, and there's like a gap in between. You're kind of bridging just a little bit to create a very strong and sturdy foundation. You're contracting everything. Your scapula, your shoulders are rolled back a little bit, and you're executing the movement. And so that's part one into why I think both play a role and both are important, because in order to successfully even perform a dumbbell bench press, you have to learn what that foundation is like. And going into dumbbell bench pressing without having ever bench pressed, I think is just the wrong order to do it. And I say that because you learn how to, you're missing out on a big part of having a proper foundation, a proper base for your movement, so that you can work the muscles that you want to work. And so that being said, barbell bench press is very purposeful for you to get what you need to get out of dumbbell bench press. The other part is too is, of course, it's a little bit more stability, I want to say, because mechanics are not exactly in your favor. When you're doing a dumbbell bench press, you can angle your palms, your wrist, your elbow inward, your shoulder, right? You can kind of hinge it forward or have it more aligned, just like a regular barbell bench press, and you could just push straight forward, straight up and down. The thing is, though, with a barbell bench press, you do have to learn a certain level of stability, because everything's being done with a bar, and you have your weights at the end, the plates. And so it's not something you can move around with. It's not something that you can, adjust your form with while you're doing it. It's something you have to have your base steady first, and then you could proceed with the movement so that you can get the most out of it, right? With dumbbell bench press, you don't necessarily have to worry about that too much. You can angle it however you'd like, and just target chest, or maybe take off some of the focus off the front delts, right? The only thing is, though, is that, again, the importance in learning how to stabilize, the importance in all of those stability muscles that's being, you know, put to work when you're doing a barbell bench press are going to come in handy when you're doing a dumbbell bench press, right? And so I think once you get to a certain point, you can assess whether dumbbell bench or barbell bench is better for you, because it does get to a point where, you know, the trade-off is more, if you're trying to build muscle, right? Doing a dumbbell bench press may be more worth it, since you don't have to focus on stabilizing it as much. You're not fatiguing your body, your ligaments, you know, those stabilizer muscles that you have, those little muscles in your forearms or in your shoulders, or, you know, you're not taxing that in order to perform your movement and get whatever you can out of your chest, right? Or out of your pecs. Whereas with a barbell bench press, you might be, right? And or you may not be able to target your chest the same exact way or as much as you want, right? Once you get to a certain point. But I do think it is most important to learn barbell bench press first before you actually move on to dumbbell bench press and get the benefits that you are looking for out of your dumbbell bench press, right? And you can build muscle with both. You can build muscle with Smith presses. You know, eventually you get to a point where, you know, you have your stabilizer muscles working. You have built somewhat of a foundation, maybe after a year or 2 years of training, to where you can get to that point where you can now focus, and you have mind-muscle connection. You can focus more on what it is that builds the muscle the best for you, and what you can recover from the best, what taxes you the least in order for you to build the most muscle, right? And that's essentially what it may come down to. Again, if your goal is putting on muscle, putting on weight, etc. If you're a powerlifter, a different story, you know, and dumbbell bench press will play a different role for you, maybe in terms of mechanics or learning different aspects of that movement, or maybe getting better at the bottom range or whatever it may be. But from a muscle perspective, from a bodybuilding perspective, weightlifting, mass gaining perspective, I would definitely recommend learning bench press first, then move on to your dumbbell and Smith presses and whatnot, and that will allow you to focus more on targeting those muscles that you're aiming to do with different movements, that you may not be able to do as much with barbell bench press. But, you know, still get good workouts with barbell bench press. You can definitely get great pumps if you execute properly. But yeah, I just wanted to come out here and say that, you know, both have its place. One is not more important than the other, although one is slightly more key to learning than the other in order for you to learn the other. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's the Ape. We out.